two amazing stories about Reb Noson, which illustrate his greatness and a very powerful message for us to hold on no matter what. The first story is an incident connected to the revelation of lesson number 66 in the Likutei Moharan, Torah Samech Vav, a very powerful lesson about the power of desire. And part of the story of how this lesson became revealed is an interesting story. It's a bit longer. We're just going to go to one detail of the story. It's that Reb Noson, he came to spend Shabbat Chanukah in the freezing Ukrainian winter, the beginning of the winter, with Rabbi Nachman in Breslov. And Reb Noson was delayed in going back home. He couldn't find appropriate transportation, and he only found a wagon with a consignment of glass, which would have been an uncomfortable ride back home. And at that year, Reb Noson, in a sense, was exiled. Him and his family moved to a faraway village called Mohelov, far from Breslov, which meant that Reb Noson, like in olden days before that, when he was living in the city of Nemirov, which was technically next door to Breslov, whenever he felt the need to, he would just hop over in like a half a day, a quarter of a day's trip to hop over to be by Rabbi Nachman. Whenever he felt the need to get some encouragement or words of inspiration and he would feel out of his devotions, he would just go to Breslov, speak to Rabbi Nachman, and come back. And he was doing it very frequently. So when this move took place, that his family had to move to faraway Mohelov, it became more difficult and much more obstacles for Reb Noson to be by Rabbi Nachman. Yet for that year, when lesson 66 was revealed, Reb Noson, he traveled to be by Rabbi Nachman for Shabbat Chanukah, and he had to overcome many obstacles to get there, which is one of the main themes of lesson 66. And he was with him. On the way back though, it was uncomfortable to go back on a consignment of glass. And Reb Noson wrote himself, it was beneath my dignity to travel uncomfortably on a wagon with a consignment of glass to go home. If it was regarding to travel to be with Rabbi Nachman, I would for sure do that. He said also Rabbi Nachman, Reb Noson, that I would even crawl on a road paved with knives to be with Rabbi Nachman for Rosh Hashanah, which indicates the Mesirat Nefesh, the extent that Reb Noson was willing to go to be by Rabbi Nachman. And he said, but however, to go back home to Mohelov uncomfortably, I wasn't so interested in that. So he decided, if I'm already staying here and the next wagon available is a few days later, I might as well go back to Breslov from Nemirov to spend more time with Rabbi Nachman. And he did so, and it was a very delightful experience. At that time, Reb Noson did not yet bless the new moon for the month of Tevet, and it was very cloudy. And Rabbi Nachman told him that you must now follow what the halacha says, that if it's cloudy, even if you can see just the shape of the moon, say the blessing, and don't wait for the moon to be crystal clear, like is the opinion of certain stringent halachic opinions. Don't try to be stringent now. Rabbi Nachman told him, just as soon as you see the moon, since it is in accordance with at least one halachic opinion, do it. So Reb Noson, who was a Torah scholar, who was someone who was always trying to be careful and doing mitzvot properly, he was one of those types of people. So he went out, and it was so cloudy. It was the winter, the Ukrainian winter. It was so cloudy, and he felt so bad. He saw the moon, and then for a second he saw the shape of the moon, with which met requirement of one lenient opinion, which Rabbi Nachman told him to follow. And he had some doubts in doing it. He wanted to wait, maybe it would clear up more. And instead of the moon clearing up more, it got so worse that the moon became totally covered up. And Reb Noson felt so dejected and so down. Number one, because he waited. And number two, because he didn't listen to Rabbi Nachman. His Rebbe told him to say the blessing as soon as you see the shape of the moon, say the blessing. So he felt even worse, even multiplied the guilt feeling of not listening to Rabbi Nachman. And he said, "Oh, I like as if I deserve this. Now look what I got myself into." Yet, Rav Noson, instead of feeling dejected and just dropping it, he waited a little more. And after waiting a little more, miraculously, the moon became crystal clear, super clear, which meant it met the halachic requirements of other opinions, a bit more stringent than the first one, that he can say the blessing, and he did so with joy. And then he came back to Rabbi Nachman, and Rabbi Nachman commented on his delight how Rav Noson was able to do that. And this story is to show how Rav Noson, even though he felt a type of dejection, he didn't fall into it, and he continued, he held on. It's an important point, because the average person in such a situation would just walk away and not say the blessing for the moon at all. Forget it, I lost it, there's nothing to hold on. He held on. And it's an important point. Even if Rabbi Nachman in this case, he didn't listen to him. I didn't listen to the tzaddikim, I listened to my teachers. Still, Rav Noson did not fall into the dejection. And one more story, which also illustrates this point from a different perspective, is once Rabbi Nachman and Rav Noson were sitting together, and Rabbi Nachman told Rav Noson, "Do you ever feel joy on Shabbat?" And Rav Noson said to Rabbi Nachman, "There are times when I have a divine arousal. It's called in Yiddish frumer. I have a frum experience." And Rabbi Nachman said, "That is not the way. The main thing is to be besimcha on Shabbat, to be happy on Shabbat." And Rav Noson was silent, and Rabbi Nachman, who was reading his mind, he said to him, "Now you have what to be depressed about." Because now Rav Noson, he knew Rabbi Nachman was reading his mind, because he said to himself, "Oh my God, how am I going to get myself to be happy on Shabbat when I'm not happy? When there are times when I'm not happy. What am I supposed to do? He's telling me the main thing is to be besimcha, and I see how far I am from being happy on Shabbat. What am I going to do?" So then Rav Noson, after Rabbi Nachman said that, Rav Noson, look what he said. He said, "At least I want to be happy on Shabbat." And then Rabbi Nachman, with a smile, told other people at the table, "Did you hear what he said? That's exactly," he said, "great." He said, "good." Perfect. That's the main thing. He wants to be happy on Shabbat. And Rav Noson said, this is the main point. If I can't be happy, at least I want to be happy. And this applies to everything. If I can't do this and do that and be like this, and I know it's right and positive, at least I want to. And this wanting, nobody can take away from me. This is the Ratzon. This is the secret of the Jewish soul, is the Ratzon, the yearning and desire. That is something which is untouchable. Untouchable. The Yetzer Hara can make a person's life miserable, upside down and everything. The one thing that the evil side cannot touch or take away is a person's yearning and desire. And this is Rav Noson again used the tactic not to fall into dejection or negativity, is at least I want to be happy. And this is the key to eventually, yes, being happy, in this case on Shabbat.